Gonky, segue. This is your topic.
Special. Well, yeah, I mean, right. So like, I like to work on things. Can I do it with a crescent wrench? Yeah, but I'd rather have the exact right
10
tool
millimeter.
to do it.
The mythical 10 millimeter socket.
I'd rather have the 10 mil by Snap-on, like their top of line model, that like the freaking 12 point or whatever it is. It just fits right on there exactly. Because the crescent wrench, maybe every fourth one I round it off, right? So it doesn't really work. So, I mean, Mover and I were, multi-role types. And I mean, I did low threat casts, for real. And it hurt my brain because my airplane is moving too fast. It's just me. I'm up at medium altitude. If I was down low, forget about it. I'm moving too fast. The ground's too much of a threat. But like, there's no, I don't understand why I guess our leaders can't see the value of, hey man, have some day one airplanes. Your stealth airplanes, go in there, knock out the heavy stuff. Have your day two airplanes. Guess what? You're going to need specialized fighters. Like build pure fighters. And then you talked about it, the culture. Let the fighter guys become experts at the air game. Let the air to ground guys become experts at the ground game. And then I think it's like you don't put your offense team out there when it's time for defense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why there's two different.
We stopped going both ways in football a long time ago.
Right.
It's the tiny little towns that do that, not the big cities.
Yeah, your quarterback's not going to be out there with the lineman, right? So I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, man. Why would you, have a very specific design, make it the best that you can, which is what they did with the A10, in my opinion, and then same with like that 15 at the time. And then let the guys and gals operating it become experts at it, because I got pretty good at everything, which most of the time was good enough. But, I mean, it would have been nice to just be able to focus. And if you don't focus, if you're a professional athlete, you don't focus, you're never going to make the top. If you're a race car driver, you don't focus, you're never going to make it. I mean, that's where it's at, man. You got to focus the design and you got to focus the mindset of the people who are operating those machines, all the way down to the maintainers, man.
Yeah, and you got to understand exactly. You got to understand the bigger picture that goes around that too, just as the air-to-air guy does with whatever's replacing AWACS. I don't know what they're calling it now, but integrating themselves within a an air campaign, and we did that on the ground. I mean, I had a unique opportunity of actually being the first guy at a pilot training to ever get an OA-10 as a first assignment. So it didn't even exist. So I got an A10 at assignment night. I was super excited about that. And then a couple weeks later, the personnel folks came around and said we need a couple of A10 guys that are getting ready to graduate pilot training to volunteer for the OA10, replacing the OV10 in the airborne forward air controller role. Well, I wanted an F-16, and the quickest way to that was go be a forward air controller, because it's an assignment that if you do okay, you're going to get your first choice of aircraft after it. So that's what I thought, and so I said I'll go fly the OA-10, and ended up finding it was a very, very challenging, very interesting mission. They didn't even have an OA-10 schoolhouse at that time, so the B course was the A-10 B course. And I was going to bring my Top Gun bullet here just because we always got to show an A-10 bullet in the program, but it's right here somewhere. But the point is, and then we did this little spin up for OA-10, and then there you are, single seat, single ship, flying at red flag as a first lieutenant. Holy crap, man! That's and I think about it now, tremendous responsibility, a tremendous workload in a single seat jet. By yourself, as a new guy, but it teaches you a lot. And then I went to Air Ground Operations School, a joint school, to learn the tactical air controls party system, the JTACs they call it now, and then actually had an additional duty as a by name aligned ground battalion air liaison officer with the light infantry unit. So I've been on the ground with those guys in some real high speed exercises. 321 light infantry, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, hoorah! And found out I was a fish out of water. I mean, I would go out running PT with them in the mornings, and I'd hump a rock over the Kahukus on Oahu, but I was struggling to keep up, man. And but the point is that, I knew that system inside and out. I knew what they're facing on the ground because I've been there with them. And so whether I'm in the aircraft as a forward air controller, on the ground as a battalion ALO, or later on, in an A10. Working within that system, it's again, you get to be such a specialist, and not just that you've got an aircraft and a weapons loadout that can do the job, but you've got a mentality and an understanding of that little part of the war. Okay? So now, I'm not going and doing wild weaseling, wild wart weasel. I'm not doing, I did some PFM over the North Sea against 1v1 versus F-16. I waxed his ass, but it wouldn't have happened. But the second time wouldn't have happened at all because he would have said, okay, the A-10 is just going to get in a tight turn circle. I just need to get my nose in there better instead of just keep going up and burner, So, but the point is, I'm not going to go out there and clear the skies of the enemy aircraft, but what I do, I'm going to do it very, very well, and there's a need for it. Not all the time, but there is, and there will be always a need for it.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
100%, man. You don't go to the freaking dentist to get your. You don't have a dentist set your arm.
You don't
not in America.
You use your proctologist for your dental work.
You use your proctologist for everything, don't you, Mover?
Of course, dude. That's the only way in. Gonky,
so to speak.
Go to bed, kids.
Yeah, not for legal reasons. Anyway, so Gonky, did you guys do phase-based training in the Navy?
Say again?
So as a multi-role guy, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking, if your only job in life is close air support or air to ground. For us, we did phase-based training, which meant, 3 times a year I was really good at one thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you'd start at BFM, then you do intercepts, then you go into the ACT phase, the larger force, defend the point, whatever. Then you would move on to basic surface attack, and then you'd go SAT, which is air to ground, like strike, self-escort strike stuff you're used to. And then at the end, you do close air support, and then you'd start all over. And unless you were working up to go to war, in which case all you did was what you were going to do at war, which was close air support, non-traditional intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for us multi-role guys, you got good at it just long enough to go do the next thing.
Yeah, we had that. I remember we had a tracker. It's like a greenie board, right? And it's like, hey, make sure you log a whatever for CAS. Or, we go across the top is like, let's see, you get one for takeoff. Oh, is it night? You just go. It was just check mark stuff, and we
counters.
we'd totally BS it, right? Because we needed to.
Oh boy, here we go.
Pencil whip
for legal reasons.
Well,
we're joking. We're joking, but we might have pencil whipped a few things.
So this is a joke, but because they wanted us to do 15 pounds of stuff and gave us a 5-pound bag, it's like, okay, well, let's see. Yes, I rolled off the 180 to land. We'll call that a roll in. It's like
now throw nukes in there. Throw the ECM stuff in there, and stuff that F-35's doing, man. You gotta handle.
And that's not common for all squadrons. I mean, that was my squadron where we did phase-based training. I have seen squadrons, 204 was probably one of them, where you'd have split configured jets. You'd go out in the line and you'd see a 2-bag Viper with a targeting pod, one without a targeting pod, a clean Viper, so you could be in multiple phases at one time. It was always different, but I liked it personally. I liked the way we did the phase-based stuff just because it kind of got you in the mindset like, okay, we're at a ground now. I got to get, I got to go back to the vault. I got to remember the numbers and stuff. What I didn't like was as soon as I got good at it, it was time to go do something else.
Yeah. So my first skipper, he's a Tomcat guy. He's still in action.
Tomcats.
He's an admiral. Yeah. Super smart guy. And he told me when I first checked in my first fleet squadron, he said, he's like, man, I was a Tomcat guy. I had one mission air to air. He's like, I got really good at it. It took me about a year to learn all the tactics and get good at it. And I had like 2 years after that to perfect it. And I was teaching guys. He's like, unfortunately, in the Hornet community, just about the time you get reasonably good at everything, you're going to roll out of here. Well, he was right. I mean, in the Navy, you throw the whole boat thing in there too. It's a whole nother phase, man.
But Gonky, remember, just about the time you get used to it, and then you roll into the next phase, it's not the same as the last time.
No,
because threats are ever evolving. The tactics are changing.
Yes.
They're calling different missiles new names now.
Yes.
It's like, well, we don't do that one anymore. We do, the new one, and it's like.
Yep.
Well, who developed that? Oh, the air-to-air guys. We just got it from them, and they finally sent it to us.
Yeah, it's like, wait, we're not.
And in the F-35, their history has been you get in the jet and the touchscreen's different. There's just, I don't know what that does. It's new shit
It's
that
an
I haven't seen
update.
before.
Software update.
And so you got a fleet full of jets that have different software updates, and you're getting new stuff all the time, and that's all great. I mean, I'm sure it gives them more capabilities, but there's a point of overload and task saturation, and there's a point where you get in combat. Combat is different than training. I don't care whether it's red flag or however realistic you want to make training. Combat is different. It's always going to be different, and you come back to the basics and keeping things fairly simple, and as Gonky alluded to, you got your day one stuff and your day two stuff and your week three stuff, and but these things tend to come down to a more conventional ground-based slog, and air power can be a huge benefit when employed right with the right tools, and it's a tool we're not going to have anymore, and it's sad.